Although people will be able to argue with me about everything, people would argue with you about the whole point of whether or not there's a God or a sky or everything, but we can all pretty much come to the agreement that we all have brains, except for maybe certain political parties. The brain itself, how does one access the brain? I'm going to use the metaphor a lot of the brain as a computer. It's easy, we all understand it. If you don't understand it, you better catch up, because if you don't, you're probably going to get left behind. The mind, like computers, has open ports. What do we have? Well, we have the power of sight. These are our senses. Sight, taste, touch, smell, any possible sixth sense, if you happen to believe in that sort of thing. And let's see, sight, taste, touch, smell, hearing. That's another big one. Good for music, all that kind of jazz. Now, as you can imagine, each one of these senses are greatly influenced by advertising. We have sight. Well, I mean, there's no shortage of ways that you can influence sight. Flashing lights, movement. The rules why things are seen. Number one reason why things are seen is movement. That's why they pay those poor bastards to walk up and down the street with signboards, waving their arms. And they only get paid provided they keep what? Moving, because they gotta stay moving. Without movement, well, everything just kind of gets static. And then they use colors, flashing lights. Go to Vegas. The place is it's the world's largest eyesore. I mean, you go there and everything is just out of control with your sound and lights and flashing like God. I mean, you'll have brain burnout inside of 20 minutes in Vegas. Then, of course, you have smell. Who can possibly deny how tasty things can get? First thing in the morning when you smell the coffee or bacon or fresh baking bread or what have you. I mean, I am absolutely certain that McDonald's cranks open the doors and has a fan going out into the neighborhood first thing in the morning to get that good McDonald's French fry, carcinogenic, I'm gonna rot out your gut smell. Now, when you realize that your senses are being used against you, it begs the question, how do you protect your senses? And furthermore, the number one way of protecting is you've got to be aware that you're under attack. And most people just think, well, that's just part of life. It's part of life that we're manipulated by our senses. No, it's not. You should control that, and you have to control that, because if you don't control it, somebody else will. In order to protect yourself, you first have to understand who yourself is. You have to know what the parameters of yourself are. And this is the subject of many religions. There's all kinds of people who are willing to tell you who you are. Well, actually, that's a misnomer. What they're willing to do is tell you the kind of person they want you to be. And invariably, it involves you being subservient to their religion. One of the things we try to do here at RANT Media is try to create an actual way for young people and old people, just people in general, to be able to realize that they are, in fact, important, and that they themselves, as individual entities, are amazing creatures. I call myself Sean Kennedy the fucking man. That's a joke. It's always been a joke. It's not a real thing. I'm just some guy kind of bumbling along in my own life, the crazy cameraman. So, who am I to tell you who you are? Well, clearly, I have just as much right to tell you who you are as, say, well, Anthony Robbins, anyone out there. Jerry Falwell, George Bush, all these different people, they want to give you an identity, but you don't need one because you've already got one. Sigmund Freud had said that everything that a man does is based upon the urge to be great and the sexual urge. I can't say the same thing for women, to be honest with you. I wouldn't even want to broach that subject. But for folks out there, I'd say it's pretty common. Maybe with women there's a few other priorities in there too, something to do with breeding, mating, that kind of a thing, and men have the same kind of drive. The concept of yourself, the self, not what you want. The you and what do you want. That's a big thing. If you remove all the crap in your life, if you take away all the things that try to tell you who you are. You're not your bank account. You're not your jeans. You're not your car. You're left with this core being at the end of it. Now, there's Eastern religions, Buddhism, whatnot, some Zen thought that's gone into this meditation, lots of ritualized methods of being able to understand who you are as a person, and each one of them are good. I wouldn't try to discredit them. Even to some degree, prayer and some things used in the Jewish, Christian, and Muslim faith, I'm sure that they're probably good too. But religion, organized religion, all of it, is designed to make you subservient to the religion. That has pros and it has cons. But I don't think that in the world of tomorrow, a world of cyborgs and robots and technology and jets that enable us to fly around the world, we're going to be able to exist with these ancient, outmoded ideas. Now, back in the 60s, there was guys who came along with Satanism, which is nothing more than LaVey's stuff was, you know, this whole self-empowering, there is no God, it's all us, hardcore atheism. And that itself has a few points, but it is not, it's like protesting religion for the sake of protesting religion. You know, you have to look at what you want. Once you know who you are as a person, whatever that may be, you can then go to the next point, which is what do you want to be happy? The pursuit of happiness. All of life, really, from the time you're born to the time you die, is really the pursuit of happiness. And your perceptions of what you need to be happy change as you grow up. When you're a child, it could be, you know, milk and cookies. I mean, think about when you were a kid, maybe you had a comic book you wanted, and you would go around the neighborhood, you'd pick up bottles or something like that, you'd go down to the local store and you'd buy a comic book. I used to do that. I used to pick up pop bottles and stuff like that, and I'd go down and I'd buy me a Savage Sword of Conan comic book and a Dr. Pepper. And I would sit back with a shot glass, and I would sip this Dr. Pepper because I would savor it, you know, because you picked up bottles to get this Dr. Pepper, and read this Savage Sword of Conan magazine. And in retrospect now, I think the Savage Sword of Conan magazine was much better for me than the Dr. Pepper was, because as we grow and as we learn, we seem to forget the simple pleasures in life. We seem to forget the joys of like sitting down and spending time alone, maybe with a book or with something like that. Through the media and through, you know, massive saturation of images and technology, I mean, movies have to, the special effects have to keep getting better and better, because if they don't, people get bored with it. It's like we're numbed. It's this weird media drug, this sensory drug, which is overwhelming. Music, you listen to the old music, it's very, very like music from the 60s, very folky, guys singing with the guitar, very, very talented. But imagine if, you know, Terminator X got together with Jimi Hendrix. I mean, wow, we'd have some pretty interesting mixing stuff going on there. So music, all art, all media has evolved throughout time to the point now where we're waiting for the next transcendent level. And the same thing that has happened with music and art and with our desires is happened with advertising. Advertising has now become this massive, intense way where they're doing research now for beaming brain waves at you to get you to buy stuff. And I'm not afraid of, well, I am afraid of that, but I'm afraid of what comes after that. What comes after we get numb to brainwave injected voices in your head advertising? What happens when we're used to that? What's the next level? People coming to your house with SWAT teams to force you to go shopping? I mean, this is insanity. Let's just put the brakes on that right now. Let's talk about who you are before we even talk about the advertising. You have to determine who you are. And I've talked about things like media fasting, where you go out and you don't read any books or magazines, stuff like that. Take yourself so that you go into more of an introspection mode. A media fast is very necessary for you to determine who you are as a person. It doesn't matter who I am. It matters who you are. After you've done your exercising, it's important that you take a moment to focus your mind and your body. There's a number of ways of doing this. You can, you can pray, which I'm not a big fan of, but I do enjoy some meditation, and it could be said that prayer is in fact a form of meditation. Meditation, I think, should generally be done outside, regardless of weather conditions. This is a sense of bringing you into your environment, into the real world. Now, when I meditate, I try to do it outdoors as much as I possibly can, unless, of course, you live in an area where, if you go outside in the dead of winter, it will kill you. Don't do that. Don't think you're going to be all tough. Now, meditation is a really, really simple thing that a lot of people have put way too much effort in trying to explain. So I will give you my method of meditation and see where we can go from there. Now, when I meditate, I go to an outside spot, like my meditation spot is over here. You must find a position that you can sit in comfortably for a long period of time. That's it. There's no real rules for this. If you have a bad back or whatever, you have to sit on a chair or on a stool or on a pillow. That's all fine. Okay, so you find a spot. Me, I like to sit cross-legged. Take a moment, relax yourself, a few deep breaths. Relax the body. Realize that, prepare yourself for meditation. Some people say you should put a lot of effort into approaching the place where you meditate. Sure, that's cool. I mean, you will develop, by doing this every day, you'll develop a number of different ways to do this. to approach your meditation. Whatever works for you, and provided you do it every day, that's all that matters. Now with meditation, the goal is to do nothing, which you would think would be relatively easy to do, but in fact it is not very easy to do. Our minds are so saturated with media and advertising, very, very difficult to empty yourself. We need something to focus on. So to do this, some people say to use a candle. I use my breathing. You sit very calmly. You can either keep your eyes open or closed, whatever you prefer, and you just breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Some people advise you should stick the base of your tongue into the tip of the roof of your mouth, kind of like that. Relax. Now, me, when I do it, I generally breathe in and out through my nose because I find it too complicated to try to remember which area to breathe through. But you have to sit with your back straight so that you don't have bad posture. So it's easy for you to breathe. Relaxed, focus on the breathing. In and out. You don't control your breathing, you're just aware of it. If you find yourself thinking about stuff, getting stressed about stuff, forget about it because it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is your breathing. In and out. In and out. You don't control it. You're aware of the transition. When do you stop breathing in? And when do you start breathing out again? When do you stop breathing out and breathe in again? You don't control that. You're just aware of it. Spend time thinking about that. That's it. That's all there is to it. That's the big mystery with meditation. Gradually over time, you'll find that thoughts come in. When thoughts come in, don't try to resist them. Just let them go. Let them release out into the environment. That's all there is to meditation. Meditation has been practiced for thousands of years, and the health benefits are still being discovered today. It's something that costs nothing, is easy to do, and anyone can do it, but no one really, well, very few people really do it. So it's something that I think all wogs should practice.
What do you want? You've got to ask yourself what you want. Chances are you don't want anything right now. Right now you're just listening to what I say, and based upon what I say, you're going to determine what you want. Why? Because you're waiting for input for me to give this to you. This is all part of media peer pressure. There's so much media saturation going everywhere. All they got to do is broadcast enough messages on enough venues, on the billboards, on the milk crates, on your car, everywhere. Well, you just can't get away from it. It's everywhere you look. It's this media peer pressure trying to manufacture wants inside of you. That's what peer pressure is everyone going, you want to have this, you want to try this, you want to do this, you want to do this, sure enough, yeah, okay, well, I want to do this because I want to fit in. That's what it is, and it bugs me. I hate that. I hate the fact that people get so manipulated by the media. Everyone, they don't have any wants. People are generally just interested in getting some sleep and getting laid. That's about it. Maybe have a beer once in a while, have some food, but for some reason, we got all these reasons for all these different medias to want. We got all these different methods to want. We have all these ways that we want to, have different things. We got to have the right flavor, right clothing, right everything we have to have in order to get laid, get happy, get a family, get a job. You need to have all these things, and it's bullshit. It's all manufactured. You don't need any of it. The only thing you need to do is listen to the self. What are you waiting for me to tell you? What you want? Do you want me to tell you what you want? Buy only what you want. That's the idea. In order for them to make you spend your money, they have to make you want stuff. The first necessity of facilitating a sale is to create want within the consumer. That's a law. They can't get away from that. So no matter how hard they try, they will make you want stuff. And you've done it for so long. There's so many TV screens everywhere that you will want what they tell you to. Because it's hot. Because some chick is sitting on a beach and somehow that relates to an odor. I have no idea how that works, but apparently you see it in perfume ads all the time. Jeans. What the hell? Nobody cares about what kind of supermodel wanders around wearing what kind of cologne. It's ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense. And I don't know why people do it. I don't know why people put up with it. I don't know why people just kind of roll over and take it. But they do. They spend $150 on a pair of jeans. How does that work? I don't understand it, but it seems that they do. So my message to you, ladies and gentlemen, what you want to do is buy only what you want. That's the rules. My name is Sean Kennedy, and I am the fucking man.
Realistically, each of us, all wogs, are really elaborate biological meat robots for the brain. You could cut off my hands and I'd still be Sean. You could cut off my arms and I'd still be Sean. You'd cut off my arms and legs and then I'd be Art. No, I'm kidding. But if you were to take away most of my physical body, I would still essentially be me. The you, as you understand it, is inside your head. But where exactly inside your head? Is it, is it here? Is it the face? If you cut all my skin off, am I still me? Obviously it is. And there's been much written on this. Big fan of the Ghost in the Shell anime series. They deal a lot with that kind of concept in there. There's also any number of philosophers throughout history. Everybody from Plato to Thoreau has discussed these kinds of concepts. But what I've found is that there's a massive amount of, just a lack, this unbelievable lack of attention being paid to the brain. The brain is an organ, Just like any other organ in the human body, it must be looked after. But since, unlike the muscles in your hands or your arms or what have you, you can't really exercise it in a visual way, so you could say, check out how big my brain is. Now, you can go to universities and there are professors and people with all kinds of certificates and tickets on their walls who spend far too much time reading and, talking, reading some more and talking some more, and never actually doing any living in life, so they become these university and highly enlightened thinkers and stuff like that are so isolated from the real world that their minds, although very beautiful and perfect in their own right, are not really that applicable. So how is a wog supposed to be able to figure out how to keep his brain in shape? How is he going to be able to handle the stresses that are put on the human brain today? You gotta think, more things have been invented in the last 50 years than in the history of the world. Our culture is accelerating at a pace that is out of control. And our process of our culture is handled exclusively by our brains. More is demanded of the human mind and the human brain today than at any other time in history. Is it any wonder why suddenly the pharmaceuticals and core political companies are able to broadcast and sell these ideas that, you're obviously, you can't cope with society because, you're sick. And since you're sick, we'll give you this medicine. And they're selling their snake oil to everybody, when realistically, all you need to do is look after your mind. Nobody likes to think of their minds as being, weak. No one wants to be weak-minded. But realistically, every single mind is weak. No mind is unhackable. My mind isn't bulletproof. Your mind isn't bulletproof. Every mind has its limitations. And not knowing what your limitations are is just as dangerous as, having no concern whether or not you have concern for your mind's limitation. You see what I'm saying? If you don't look after what you do with your brain, you're going to wreck it. One day you realize, holy cow, it's like all these extreme sports guys who get into that free rock climbing thing and they climb up the side of the cliff and they're like, yeah, I just got my chalk bag and, I don't really care because I'm good enough, and they don't recognize that, perhaps something could go wrong, something could break somewhere along, something unforeseen, variable X, and suddenly they fall. And that happens to people all the time. Can be anything. Could be something as relatively minor as, you lose your job, which is a minor thing, but people seem to think it's their be-all, end-all of existence, or it could be a major thing like the death of a loved one, and people's brains just wig out. If you look in your own life, you'll find lots of examples of people who were going along great, and then something happened and BAM! Suddenly they changed as people. Sometimes it's a major event, like them going to war, or something to that effect. Sometimes it could be a minor event. It's either a software or a hardware thing. Maybe it's a car accident. Maybe they hit their head, and now, they've just never been the same since. This is all because of the mind and care and feeding of the brain. Now, physically, other than saying wear a helmet, there's really not much I can do for the physical health of the mind, other than, of course, diet, which we'll be able to talk about. But there's so many other ways that we are controlled and manipulated, because if you can control the minds of the people, you control the people. After you get up in the morning, do some exercises, go for a run, do some meditation so that you're able to finally quiet your mind, be fully aware and conscious and awake and really centered and able to, deal with your day, move forwards with a focused mind in the perfect, WOG adaptive way. Everyone in the world is going to be trying to knock you off balance. This is the purpose of media and broadcasting and advertising, is to make you unbalanced, to make you believe that you have wants and needs that you don't actually have. What the goal is to try to maintain your focus, peace, and calm, no matter how you choose to create your focus, peace, and calm throughout the whole entire day. If you take your focus, peace, and calm through inspiring yourself with religion and things like that, you want to be able to do that throughout the entirety of your day so that you don't get outside and you immediately return to being afraid again. Because you're like, oh my God, there's all these problems in the world, and you wind up getting overwhelmed, and before you know it, you're down there, paying $25 for a pack of smokes. Okay, so you want to avoid that. And the way you avoid that is to just create it so that the ideas and influences of reality, of these perceived realities that advertisers try to sell to you, just kind of go over top of you. Kind of like armor for the mind, like brain armor, if you will. We're going to just go over a few different ways that you can do this in your home and abroad. when you're out and about being mobile. First and foremost, any piece of equipment you get, you want to sanitize it the moment you purchase it. Moving across the table here, I've got examples of a whole bunch of different ways, a whole bunch of different things, but try to keep with me. We'll see where we're at. The first thing we're going to do is, no doubt, wherever you get this particular program, you probably got it from a computer. And doing things on computer, well, everyone goes out, purchases themselves, usually a laptop. Most things are done on laptops now. Mind you, the desktop is a far more powerful unit, much more practical, but depending how mobile you have to be. Me, I primarily use a laptop because I'm everywhere. I'm scattered. I'm all over the place. What you want to do is make sure, first of all, that you're not littering. Okay, you're not broadcasting, being like sort of a spammer. Okay, a reality spammer. Just because you purchased a laptop and you happen to like your laptop, that doesn't mean that everyone else needs to know what kind of laptop you've purchased. First of all, you don't want to spam and advertise for free. The second reason is because if people know what make and model your laptop is, even in today's Bluetooth, Wi-Fi concepts, they might know some default stuff. If they can readily identify what kind of laptop you have, maybe there's some default password, some backdoors you don't know about. Maybe there's certain things about that laptop you're not aware of. So, no one needs to know anything about your equipment more than anyone else. What I do is, right off the top, is I try to hold as much, try to cover up all the labeling on the laptop as best I can. Now, some laptops have it actually like ingrained into the laptop itself. You can't get it off of there. Laptops are pretty fun anyway for doing stickers. So what I use on my laptop is I use stickers. First thing I'm going to put on here is I'm going to put my RANT radio sticker on, try to keep it fairly nice. Now some people could say, but Sean, you're now advertising for RANT radio. Yes, I am. Once we've determined who you're going to sell out to and all that good stuff, I figured, it's okay. I'm pretty heavily involved with these guys. I enjoy it. Other stickers, if you don't know what else, well, I don't really want to sell it to anyone. Go get yourself hazardous warning stickers. Part of the RANT radio logo was taken from a hazardous warning sticker, and they're fun. They're great, and they're scary looking. Look at that. That tells people to stay away from this thing, and they're great fun at the border. I actually had a cop one time ask me, he said, is there any biohazardous infectious waste actually in your laptop there? And I'm like, no. Because if there was, surely I would tell this fine law enforcement officer. Throw it on there, and it looks pretty. It looks nice, looks fairly official. Try not to get any bubbles in there. Boom! You've now got a sanitized laptop. Everything you get has to be sanitized. Make sure it's clean. Make sure you're not littering. After we do that, the next order of business, because people see that. This is what they see while you're working, and they don't need to know what kind of laptop you have, what the make or model of any of that is. Since wogs don't watch television, what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to get your news and media somehow. And of course, we get our news and media through the same way, well, all good people get their news and media through the internet. And when you're surfing the internet, there's a variety of browsers and things like that you can use, but only one of them is really any good, and that is Firefox. The reason why I have gone with Firefox is I now invoke the wrath of the entire computer culture. The reason why is because of ad block. Firefox, browser created, distributed for free, has a feature, a plugin that you can put into the browser. A number of them, actually. One of them is the weather one, which never, ever, 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 ever is accurate, but that's okay. It's not good to try to base your filming around a browser plugin. Generally, one of the greatest plugins I've ever seen, and really, I would encourage people to download and install Firefox for this browser plugin. There probably are other browser plugins similar since Firefox came out with it, but it's called AdBlock. And what they do is, as you surf the web, you will look and there'll be advertising all over the web now. The web is completely covered with ads and banner ads, and it's everywhere. You can't get away from these things. So what you can do now is you can actually click on the image and AdBlock it. When you look at the page and reload it, it's gone. It's completely gone. There's no more banners, and you can gradually get rid of all the different banner engines and everything. It's fantastic, and suddenly you get your internet back, and you're finally able to go to a website and look at news and things like that without constantly being bombarded with all these advertising. So that's one method you can kind of apply, sanitization to your digital life or your digital self, your avatar. As you work. There's two places you're going to be going online. Now, going online is very dangerous because it does actually, you got a lot of news there, things like that. You're making a lot of connections with people. Your ICQ list or your messenger list of any sort of type shouldn't be this massive conglomerate. You want to make sure you keep the people you communicate with to a really good group. You've got your friends, you've got acquaintances, you've got people you talk to, but you'd always have a core group. So don't spread yourself too thin. Okay, otherwise everyone kind of invades your life. You wind up getting out of balance, and that's not good. How do you avoid losing balance while you're online? Now, there's a couple of ways you can do that. First of all, just don't take too many messages, incoming messages. Do everything in a certain order. Try to maintain your calm. And there are ways that you can use your own senses to help you with this, both at home and abroad. First of all, one of the strongest senses that we have is the sense of smell. You know, the perfume industry and the fashion industry cater to this thing huge, and they're putting pheromones into perfumes and weird chemical concoctions to try to make you more trusting and all this sort of jazz. Rather than just, you know, leave yourself open to subject yourself to any smells, I would choose a scent that you would prefer to smell over everything else. Now, I myself came up with an aroma going through all the aromatherapy stuff that I would advise people to use. It's easy to make. You use it with usually I use a grapeseed oil extract, and you get a bottle of grapeseed oil extract or another carrier oil with no scent itself, and you can use this. It's a universal oil. You can use it as a massage oil. You can use it as an essential oil to smell. You can use it as a diffuser blend, what have you. But the blend itself, the grapeseed is just a carrier. You don't have to use the grapeseed. But the oils you need to remember are frankincense, equal parts frankincense, eucalyptus, champa, and ylang-ylang, however you say that. Y-A-L-A-N-G, Y-L-A-N-G. Relatively inexpensive, those four. The frankincense gets a little bit pricey. How I came to this conclusion had nothing to do with the odor. As a matter of fact, I went through all my aromatherapy books, found out the ones that mostly affect the mind and the respiratory system, and allows you to do all this mystical, metaphysical stuff. And the big heavy hitters were those four. Now, when you combine those four together in equal portions, so that you wind up with a few drops, and then you combine them, you know, look in your aromatherapy books. Sometimes they'll say that, you know, you want to have like 20 drops per, or like 4 drops per 20 drops of your carrier oil or whatever. But those are your essential oils in a blend that you then mix with your carrier oil, and I call that particular blend Navras, after one, the really cool song from the Matrix soundtrack, and two, the term used in Hindu culture, which, look it up online, you'll find all kinds of stuff about that. Now, there's a couple of ways you can use essential oils. At home, you can take them and put them in a diffuser. A diffuser is nothing more than a candle in a little bowl where you take, you know, a few drops. I use way too much of the stuff because, well, my wife says, you only need a couple of drops, and I'm like, well, if some is good, more is better. You take that, you throw that in your diffuser, light up a candle, that goes on top, and about, you know, 10, 20 minutes later, what happens is the water, the candle, of course, evaporates the water up top here, and it, you know, permeates throughout the entire house. This is very good because it's very clean, very, very clean. You can smell it almost instantly, and very quickly, after you've done your meditations and all this sort of jazz, you don't realize you smell it anymore. So you're at home, okay, check this out. You're at home, you've meditated, you're calm, you're clear, you're focused, you've got your Navras burning. The olfactory senses have a strong impact on the mind. Think of the last time you had a smell that reminded you of something in your childhood, and you're like, bam, suddenly you're there. Well, that same smell, if you have a repeated experience where you're calm, you're focused, everything's good, and you burn some Navras, pretty soon that scent gets associated with being calm, collected, and focused. It's kind of a trick for your mind. When you do that, I mean, it's a very, very excellent way for you to kind of trick yourself into, if you, like, say one meditation session, you can't really do it, or you haven't got time to do it. Well, if you light up some Navras, you smell it and you go, oh wow. And your brain will instinctively kind of flip itself back to being more calm and relaxed. A little bit of a brain trick there. Now, some folks don't like essential oils, okay? Maybe you're a smoker, which you should be trying to quit that. But if, you know, for whatever reason you'd rather go with incense, incense is a perfectly good option. Also, incense, I've found, has a tendency to permeate and stick in fabrics and stuff like that a little bit more. Some folks prefer incense to others. Myself, when I burn incense, I burn Nag Champa. It's the Sai Baba stuff. I don't really agree with the guy's politics, but, you know, his incense is pretty good. You know, you can take a couple sticks of incense, burn them in your house. Always burn the same kind of incense. It's not so good to burn multiple different kinds. If you want to try a different kind, burn it for like a week or 2 weeks, unless, of course, you burn it right away and you think it's crap. Make sure that you have it all in a really good container that you can kind of control where the ashes go. Incense is fairly dangerous stuff. You want to be careful with it because, I mean, this is hot. Candles, of course, you got a lot of guards here, won't get in there. So you want to be careful so you don't burn your house down, okay? Disclaimer, disclaimer. Don't light your shit on fire. Now, the same thing we said with the Navras is you can't say with your incense. You sit there, you smell it, you're like, wow, suddenly I've got that feeling again. You see what I mean? And you can get yourself more relaxed, more calm, everything is relaxed. And that's great for home, but how do you take that feeling with you when you're on your road? Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. And essential oils are a little bit better than incense for this reason as well. I prefer the essential oils myself. The way I do it is there's lots of things on the market, like little vials. You can throw this in your pocket, and throughout your day, you know, when no one's looking in the office, you just kind of go and then you're fine. You know, everything will be okay after that. But you gotta try to be a little bit more subtle about it, you know, because people get a little weird if they see you huffing, you know, Benzedrine out of a bottle or something. So, the other way you can do it, rather than having to pull a little brown bottle out of your shaving kit, is through something like this. Now, this was made by a really nice hippie who created it. It's a ceramic container which is glazed on one side because essential oils go through ceramics unless they're glazed. So what you do is you take your ceramic container, you get your little eyedropper here, and ooh, I took way too much. Took too much, man. You took too much. Okay, and you just drop a little bit in here like that. Don't waste it. Put it back. Do-do-do-do. And you put your cork on it here. Now that seals this stuff inside the container. And then you can wear this around your neck. Make sure you put the ceramic side on the inside. There's all kinds of different ones that do these. There is no marketable, I can't tell you a location or a website to go to, but this is generally what they do. Sometimes they're little vials. And this one here is neat because it leaks through here all day long. So if you wear it underneath your clothing, it's really nondescript. It gives a nice pleasant odor. It's a natural odor. Oh, as a footnote, make sure that you use natural source essential oils. Any kind of perfume essential oils are garbage. Matter of fact, they're worse than garbage. Some of them are toxic. So you must be an absolute freak show when it comes to the purity of your essential oils, because otherwise it's ridiculous. Now, when you have your essential oils, you get them all located, that gives you a sense of personal aroma. And I use the Navras for everything. I use it as a cologne. I use it as something to rub on your face when you get out of the shower, keep moisturized, all that good, American Psycho stuff. Very handy to have, and as well, olfactory senses. Now, the interesting side effect of using essential oils in that way over incense is when you meet people, because you're a wog and you're focused and you're like, very able to be calm, you want to be a calming influence on other people. And if you have that sort of aroma about you because you're wearing these essential oils, eventually people come up to you and they go, wow, man, you know what? You smell great. Every time I'm hanging out with you, you're always, you're really a relaxed guy. You're just a pleasant guy to be around. And you say, well, that's because I use Navras. And they go, what's Navras? And you tell them how to make it. You tell them how to make it right then and there. You take, your frankincense, champa, lang lang, and eucalyptus, and you combine them all together, and, carry it on, and off you go. Maybe carry an extra bottle with it, give it to them. That way we can completely destroy the perfume industry, which would be cool, because, that would take care of the whole animal testing thing, wouldn't it? That's one way of controlling, through the sense of smell. But of course, when you're out there walking around, the major sense that everybody uses, of course, is the sense of sight. Everyone should own a decent pair of sunglasses. Now, for me, I used a set of these sunglasses here. We've talked about these ones before. If you have prescriptions, you can get an insert for them or get prescription sunglasses. These ones are very inexpensive. These particular ones are ESS ones, which I'm wearing, and they're kind of neat. It's what it says ESS on it here. Now, with sunglasses, you don't really want to be like drawing over and putting stickers on your sunglasses. So you can find yourself, there's lots of different solvents on the market, lots of different products you can use to take paint off of things. You put a little bit on there, do. Make sure you test it so you're not going to melt your actual glass to plastic. And just come aboard it a little bit. Yeah, it's gone. Just like that. And suddenly, you have nameless glasses. Wonderful. No more spam, no more littering. Now these ones here, there's a series of different lenses you get from where you can get the clear ones, you can get the yellow ones, but when you walk around wearing like yellow glasses and things like that with something this drastic, it's a little intimidating for people. It's like broadcasting that you are, in fact, insane. Although they have no right to judge you that way, you want to conceal it a little bit better. You don't want to walk around with the jewelry on the outside. You want to keep it on the inside. No reason to broadcast to people that you have mystical powers imbued by essential oils or crazy sunglasses. So when you're choosing sunglasses, if you can't clean them up, you should get a pair of sunglasses that look pretty nondescript, don't have a logo really apparent on the outside. Take a look at them. Yeah, they look all right. Throw them on. See how they look. This serves two functions. First of all, it affects the way that color appears to you. And because it affects the way the color appears to you, it manipulates the advertising. People are designing advertising very specifically with colors. They spend a lot of time and a lot of effort to do that. If you can suddenly throw a shade on it, all their work is for nothing. You look at billboards and things like that, and all their colors are arranged in such a way, well, you throw a filter over top and all their color scheme is shot, and suddenly you've got a barrier. The secondary barrier to sunglasses, it's very rude to talk to someone generally considered in face-to-face conversation with sunglasses on. Now, why is that? Because you have a degree of separation. If you're wearing sunglasses, people can't see your eyes. The eyes being the gateway to the soul and all the rest of the good stuff. If you keep sunglasses on, it creates a barrier between and them, the safety of behind the lenses. As a good friend of mine in New York said, it's a bullshit filter. You can wear them, get some that don't take away too much light, so you can wear them in low light, high light conditions, and it has a certain disguising features available to it as well. It's always good to have a pair of sunglasses, especially now as the ozone layer decreases as well. So you've got two advantages of this. One, It separates you, making you less, giving you the advantage to other people who they now cannot see your eyes. And 2, it has disguise features added to it. You can change up your sunglasses because you always wear the same sunglasses. Then one day you wear these, another day you wear these. You know, you change it up, mix it up, have some fun with it. And don't buy the really, really expensive ones unless you really, really like them and you think there's some sort of quality reason behind that. From sight, we've got sight and smell. Now let's move towards another really huge one. When you listen to the radio, you're listening that sound. And of course, commercials. They're loaded with subliminals on the radio. The radio probably more so than anywhere else. Bells ringing, car horns honking, sirens, alarms clocks going off, phones ringing. All of these are really common on radio commercials. They're so common now that once you're aware of, like, yeah, I keep hearing, and we'll be back in a few moments. Ring! And all these bells go off. That's why when you're in Vegas, the slot machines make those god-awful noises. It's all bells. They're all to distract you, to throw you off focus. So how do you get away from that? How do you get past that? Well, again, while you're at home, after you've done all your meditation, stuff like that, you listen to, now, I'm not going to pick a genre. I would advise that people, when they're just starting out, just starting to experiment with this, listen to Baroque music, classical Baroque music. Why? Research has been done that shows that Baroque music affects the mind to make it so you can learn more easily. Keep it as background noise. We're not, doing the thrash metal to Baroque here, okay? And no, Apocalyptica may have some Baroque music, but it is not qualifying as Baroque. Go get some symphonic stuff. It's good for you. A little bit of classical never hurt anybody. If you totally, totally hate it, go find some Baroque music that you don't totally, totally hate, okay? Now from there, how are you listening to this? Because just like the smell from the Navras, you can influence yourself with repetitive tunes. Make some mixtapes, things like that. Now at home, I listen to it on headphones. Music, I believe, in the modern age, especially if it's recorded in any way post-production, is designed to be listened to on headphones. Baroque music is probably a little bit better on a stereo, but myself, when I'm listening to music at home, I don't really listen to a lot of Baroque, I'll be honest with you anymore. I don't listen to a huge ton of it. So generally I work with more Goa, psytrance, ambient, that kind of techno stuff. And I believe that most of that music is composed with and designed to be listened on headphones. So a good set of headphones is invaluable. Now, also you can keep the volume level low, otherwise you're going to damage your hearing. So what's the first thing you do? You get your headphones home. Number one thing you want to do is take away, well, you got to sanitize your headphones so you're not going to be, littering with people. These particular headphones here, if the paint doesn't come off, you just take your marker and very deftly draw over it as best you can. Just the brand name so that you're not advertising without being paid for it. Yeah, that's not too bad. Kind of covers it up, basically, so other people go, oh, well, that's cool. Now, as technology advances with headphones, holy cow, can you spend money on headphones? Oh my God. Like, there's a bunch of different companies out of Germany and stuff like that. They make these headphones that just get out of control. And I don't know enough about audio stuff to really, advise on certain kinds of headphones, but there's certain perks with other, certain kinds of headphones. These ones here, which I got, which are pretty cool, have a feature called noise cancellation, where you activate a little switch, battery powered, but what you do is you put them on, and it has the effect of being able to filter out outside sounds so that you can't hear outside noise, and it makes the sound that you're hearing through your headphones a lot cleaner. So if you're sitting in a coffee shop and you're able to actually, sit down with your laptop and do some work, throw the headphones on. Throw the headphones on. If you've got glasses that have a little bit of light fade on it and you're outside or whatever, throw these on, and suddenly you're in your own world. No one's going to mess with a guy sitting in a coffee shop doing this. It's not going to happen. No one's going to come in and be like, excuse me. You ignore them. And then they leave you. You're invincible, invulnerable. Unless they come up and physically make contact with you. In which case, well, we get into another section of the show, which I'm not allowed to talk about. Now, moving past the headphones. Wow, that's really loud. Noise cancellation, I really dig. It's a very interesting technique. It's been used a lot on planes. But when you're not at the coffee shop and you're walking around, you got your sunglasses on, how are you going to be able to make sure that you don't become subjected to all these things? People, you have the Carney Barker syndrome. Everyone's gone to the fair, and they get the people going, hey, why don't you come on over here and win something for your wife or whatever, they do this crap. So you're walking around, you want to avoid all the noise, all the hubbub, all the screaming, all the broadcasted advertising, especially in the day and age now where we're approaching a time where people are going to be beaming messages directly orally at you, specifically as you walk by. It's getting to the point where, aside from sunglasses, which protect your eyes from radiation and invasion of your privacy and, well, sort of a kind of a snooping, really, like a port snooping that people do subconsciously when they try to sell you stuff, you're going to need to get yourself a set of headphones to wear when you're walking around day to day. Technology's around now where you can get, any number of convergent devices, which, has your MP3 player, you have your cell phone, all that good stuff, all in one. So you get yourself a set of mobile headphones and you wear them. After, of course, sanitizing them. You got to make sure that... And when you sanitize, you don't have to sanitize every single marking on there. If you don't recognize a logo or a name and it's not easily recognizable, you see like the name is there, well, just draw over the name. You don't need to get all crazy about it. You don't have to like completely make your headphones look horrible. Just go and draw a little beam like that. Even almost kind of suits the whole thing, so nobody really notices it. It's not a big deal. If you want to get artistic about it, shares, use some license, personalize them. It serves another added advantage is if somebody were to walk away with your headphones, you'd be easily able to identify them. So as you walk around with your headphones on, this, again, isolates you. It keeps you away from everyone else. Even if you don't have any music playing, because you want to be aware of your environment, you can be sitting there listening to your music with your sunglasses on, do-do-de-do, listening to music, and you simply deactivate the music, bang, and no one's aware that you're actually hyper vigilant in your own environment. And when you think that if you're on a subway, say, or something like that, something sketchy's going on, you want to avoid it, you can start the music you can at your leisure. But it's always good because people realize you're not part of the environment there. You're closed off. You have that brain armor, that firewall present. If you want to take it one step further when you're out in public, and I think everyone should do this, I think everyone should own a series of hats. Now this hat here, you can't really tell by looking at it, but this hat here has its name brand on it, but because it's a camouflage hat and multicam, you can't really see what the name brand is, so I'd say that passes not for brain littering. I put a Canadian flag on mine on a Velcro patch. You can take it on, put it off. You can put other patches on there. If the RANT radio patches were still available, you could get one of those, but they're not. Only certain special people have those. And those people who have them are imbued with magical powers. For those of us who don't have the patches, you get whatever, maybe something generic like an American flag, something that's neutral, so it looks like you're saying something, but in actuality, you're really not. You just kind of got this hat on. So you throw your hat on over top, do-do-de-do, and then you have eye contact broken. You're sitting there on your, tram or L or whatever you have that you're transporting. Say you're taking the bus or you're riding your bike. You're just walking down the street, do-do-de-do-de-do, and you are, in essence, armored from the skin out. Now, you have a series of different companies make, like silver threaded hats that actually take it one step further. It's like having a Faraday cage around the top of your head to stop EMF signals. This is a glorified version of the tinfoil hat. And the tinfoil hat, although we'll be discussing that as well, sometimes, you have to draw your own personal limits to how far you want to go. Some people just think, I would start with a ball cap and then work towards, your tinfoil boonie concept. But that's only for, your really hardcore wogs out there who probably need it. Last but not least, you must plan for the eventuality of failure, as all good engineers do. When I have that, it's always good to have a fail-safe. Now, other than using a variety of like weird narcotics and stuff like that, if you get overwhelmed, if you get a case of the black shakes and the world is rushing in on you, some really good friends of mine from WebLife, weblife.org, came and gave me some stuff that called ume plum concentrate. Now this ume plum stuff, it's from Japan. I guess the samurais, before they go out on the battlefield and cut each other up, they used to mac out on these ume plums that were pickled. Now the ume plums themselves are kind of toxic, but once you pickle them, there's something about the plums that it kind of affects that, and it gets rid of anxiety. The one company I know makes it, because they sent me some stuff and they thought it was cool, was these guys called Eden Foods. Nice people, they got their own ideas, they got their own belief system and stuff like that, just like the guys who make the incense have their belief system. But their product, well, let me tell you, it works. All you do is take a little dollop of this weird tarry stuff, which is really, really hardcore, and you put it on your tongue, like just even that little bit there. Sometimes when it ships, it comes with a little spoon, but this stuff is like total tar. I just take it and lick it straight off the lid. Absorbs through the skin in the mouth, straight into the bloodstream, and you will find it has the application, like Shinto priests use this stuff before they meditate. Makes them very present. Makes them able to like focus, get outside of their head and into reality so that you don't get confused and lost. Very, very handy, and an excellent rescue remedy to have in case you wind up getting overwhelmed. And that's pretty much the use of it. Now there's lots of things you can span on from there. You can go out, think about different things you can use. As you get involved in the culture, you'll find new and exciting ways to protect yourself and create your own forms of brain armor. But this is just the basics. Where you go from here is up to you. My name is Sean Kennedy, and I am the fucking man. Get a lot of questions sometimes. People asking, why is advertising so bad, Sean? What's wrong with a couple of commercials? You know, like, what's the big deal? Why is advertising always bugging you? Why are you and Sim so upset about the whole advertising concept? They're just presenting you with options. You can either go here or you can go here. And you feel like, oh, well, you know, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's kind of an educational thing, right? I mean, advertising's out there. It's part of business. Business is good. Business is commerce. None of this is real. None of that is true. Okay, first of all, advertising has one goal and one goal only, to make you spend money. Anything that reminds you to spend money in any way is advertising. I don't care how it works. Now, talking about art, culture, music, all that kind of stuff, sometimes that can be disguised so that it's not really advertising. And you think, oh, we're just talking about art. No, but they're advertising an art show, and unless the art makes money, then it's somehow not marketable and it's not very good, and then things start getting a little bit crazy that way. Advertising is a play, and it's infiltrating our culture as art. It is a method, and there's so many means of it. It's not just, it's closing in all around us. Pretty soon we're not even going to have a method to be able to do anything without being advertised. It's on the radio, it's on the airwaves, it's on our clothing, it's everywhere we look. There's absolutely nowhere you cannot go without advertising closing in on you. I read the other day that over 50% of the human population of the planet now lives in cities, which means that all these people who now live in the forests and the jungles of the world are minorities. We've traded our tree houses for apartment condos. We've traded the views of the ocean for, well, this. And I live in a nice city. When I was down in New York, man, I mean, New York is the kind of city you could drive a cruise ship through the middle of the city and people 2 blocks over would have no idea a cruise ship was in town. And I mean in town. Problem is, though, is that with, you know, so many people inside the urban cities, what does that mean for the people who still live in the outlands? People in the Amazon jungles? What about the people in Panama? What about all the native peoples of the world? Well, I guess that means that they're gonna die. That's what it means. Because the human race is slowly becoming more urbanized, more technology. Won't be long before we're augmenting our bodies all the way. Having wet-wired implants, getting ourselves all geared up so that not only do we just have cell phones that control everything we do, see, think, feel, act, we're paying attention to advertising no matter where we go. Well, it's only gonna be a matter of time before we get ourselves cybernetically implanted with all sorts of display medias. Think about it. All you have to do is look at any science fiction book. But it's never noticed that all these science fiction movies, you never see any advertising? Sure, you see a little bit. Did you look at Tokyo Today or Times Square? Try to imagine what life will be like when you have cybernetic implants in your eyes and everywhere you look is augmented reality ads. Your own mind wouldn't even be yours anymore. You wouldn't be able to think about whatever you want. Your thoughts wouldn't even be yours anymore. They got the technology now that they can read your voice before you actually say the words. What does that mean for law enforcement? What does that mean for freedom? What does that mean for you and for me? I don't know, man. It scares me a lot. But you can't be afraid. You have to learn to use that. You have to learn to embrace technology. Technology is only man's physical manifestation of will. If you don't master technology, technology will master you. My name's Sean Kennedy, and for now, I am the fucking man. Hey, you can't be here, eh? You don't belong here. No, you're not the kind of person we want to have here. I'm afraid you're gonna have to go, sir. That's how it's gonna have to work today. You're gonna have to go. So, how do you want to do this? You have to go. I'm sorry, you have to go. If you don't go, we'll just simply call the police and you'll be escorted to jail.
It's a free country.
Not anymore, not here. It's not. This is private property.
Where's the sign?
It doesn't need to be a sign. You're standing outside. Who do you think built all this? This is all us. You don't belong here. You're not one of us.
The public's allowed to walk.
I think you should go, sir, before this gets any worse. I think you should go. Yes, you take your bag. Hope there's nothing illegal in there. Hi. I'm a security guard. It's my job to be the hired muscle for corporations. I have no real authority, but what I do is I walk around, I get my kicks by generally power tripping on other people. I can enforce my will. It gives me a sense of self-esteem. I get to go home every night, and even though I'm just an average everyday person, while I'm here, it's this feeling of power I have. I love it. It's fantastic. I don't make a lot of money, but the power comes to me, and that's all that matters. Here is my kingdom. Out there, everybody else gets pushed around. I get pushed around, but not here. Here, I'm in charge. That's my job. I'm a corporate security guard. No matter what anyone tells you, we are all unique. Everyone is different. Certain members of us have similarities, but everybody's brain, the hippocampus, neocortex, the entire gray matter thing going on up here from one side to the other one is totally unique. Your memories and thoughts and ideas have, plus your genetic makeup, have made you who you are. And that's not even getting into the concept of a ghost or a soul or an essence of being or a spirit. Without getting into that, I think that not everyone should be the same. Not everyone should see things the same way. The pharmafascists out there, the folks trying to drug us all to say maybe you have some associated personality disorder. That used to be called being shy. Or maybe you're quiet, but suddenly now you know you've got some kind of traumatic syndrome. It's nonsense. It's totally ridiculous. We've existed for thousands of years without these massive amounts of drugs and pills and medications being given to ourselves at every stage of our life. From the age of children to old age, we're being constantly saturated with media and drugs. It's insane. So at some point you have to sit back and go, wait a minute, hold it. Why are they doing this? There's a massive, think about how much money is pumped into advertising. How much money is in that? Billions and billions of dollars. Because we're not the product, we're the resource. They're trying to take all of our money. And the way they do that is by establishing need. Anyone who's ever taken a sales course or done any sales will tell you that they need to establish need. They need to convince you that you're in trouble, you're in danger. There's terrorism, there's bird flu, there's this, there's that. There's the chance that you won't be able to get a date. No one will like you if your teeth aren't white enough. You'll sound like an idiot. These are all fear tactics that people use. And unfortunately, because everyone is so media saturated, they kind of are a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think that if, as individuals, we can learn to unplug and be comfortable with being alone, to be comfortable with the notion of, I don't really need anybody. I like people, I don't hate people, but I don't need them. I'm okay to be on my own and do my own thing. Dress how I want, and go peaceably amongst people. Walk like an elephant in the forest, disturbing no one. These concepts have been reflected throughout history, and they've been said a million different ways, and I sure didn't make them up, I'll tell you that. But I think that they need to be taught more, and people need to understand that you don't need to be anything. You already are. Be a human being, not a human doing. You already exist. You have to educate yourself and make sure you can get yourself a halfway decent job, but you haven't got to subscribe to all the dogma and the lies that exist out there in the world. It's ridiculous. You don't need it. For a large portion, the news is simply there to scare the shit out of you. That's why there's so many drug commercials on there. What I'm trying to get at here is that with yourself, you have to protect your own self. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect what you like, what you think. If you don't agree with something, don't get led down the garden path by some snake oil salesman, even if it's me. People change all the time. Everyone you talk to and everyone you meet, you should treat like a smorgasbord. Take what you want, leave what you don't. Shield yourself. If you're walking around in an area where you know there's going to be lots of carny barkers screaming products at you, wear a set of headphones. If you're going out in society and you're dealing with salesmen who are really good, and believe me, you got to plan for your own limitations, take steps. Barriers up so that you don't have to always, make eye contact with these people. Make it so that you can isolate yourself a little bit. Doesn't mean that you have to make like you're screaming fuck off every 10 feet. But I mean, it's okay to be an individual and go, no man, no thanks. Practice saying no. Don't give in to guilt. People are as important as they think they are. And I think that each and every person out there watching this is more important than I am. That's why I do this. And that's why my cameraman will spend countless hours putting together a television series trying like hell to convince you of your own self-worth. But somehow in all these things, it gets lost. There's only so much we can do in day-to-day life to try to communicate thoughts and ideas without becoming leaders ourselves. And the more confidence you have, the more people are attracted to you. All I know is that I make certain choices, and some of them have worked out really well for me and some of them haven't. But they're my experiences, and I try to share them as best I can. So I encourage you to do the same so that we as a species, as humanity, can get stronger on the whole. And my name is Sean Kennedy, but I'm just some fucking man.